It has come to my attention that recently a policy has come down that has requested or demanded that shelter personnel do not waive the owner turn-in fee. And that, by the way, is a commission policy to waive the owner turn-in fee if necessary. So it seems to me that that's a violation of commission policy. I think we all understand the ramifications that if you don't waive the fee, if a person turning in his pet cannot turn that animal into the shelter, we all know what the alternative is. And that is a public safety issue as well as a safety issue regarding the animal. We have some rescuers that have said, I have seen people go out the door with a box of puppies, turned away at the desk. And thankfully they've intervened and saved those animals, but you can't expect them to do that all the time.
If somebody comes in to turn in a stray animal and they are asked how long they've had the animal in their possession, and if they've held on to it for a certain amount of time, I believe the policy, as I was told, was 30 days, but I've seen this happen with animals that they said they've had for 2 weeks, then it's considered an owner surrender. My concern is that there is an owner out there who may be looking for their animal. If you make it an owner surrender, then that animal becomes available for adoption immediately, could get snapped up within an hour, and the owner never has a chance to find the pet. I found out just today that when there are disputes of ownership with an animal in the shelter, that the microchip is trumped by the city license. However, in order to get a license, you don't have to provide any proof of ownership. You don't have to ever have the animal scanned for a microchip. So somebody could find a dog or even steal a dog, apply for a license, the dog then is licensed to them, and as far as the shelter is concerned, they own that dog, even if there's a microchip to somebody else.
The website. We have nothing in the myriad of languages that are spoken in the city, how easy it is to translate pages on spay-neuter, on animal care, and on laws into all of these languages, so that we can actually work at the source of this problem.
There's an automotive business about a mile or two from here. I originally wrote to the city about 8 months ago that they were being kept in the vicinity of toxic fluids, of work bays and things of that nature. So I did a CPRA request, and I found out that the city of Los Angeles gave a pit bull breeding permit to a tire business. Let's find out what Officer Damasio actually did. Here's the pit bull breeding license for a male pit bull. Here's a picture of a female pit bull. So either the officer didn't see this other pit bull there or can't tell the difference between a boy and a girl. The city of Los Angeles gave this tire business a Chihuahua breeding license. 2 pit bulls. Here's a Labrador. Here's a second black Chihuahua. Can Officer Damasio not tell between 1 and 2? The business has at least 6 dogs. How can we have double the limit, at least 6 dogs, when there's a limit of 3? We're issuing them breeder's license. Let's get real. Find out what the hell's going on with this.
First thing I want to say is I sent some comments to President Zaft concerning the issue tonight. I wasn't able to email comments to the others of you because your email addresses are not available. This whole thing is about public access, and many people cannot attend commission meetings, so I think it would be a really good idea if you could all provide your email addresses to the public so that you can actually find out what the public thinks about things that are going on. Many of the people don't even come anymore because they kind of gave up. I want to talk about Public Record Act requests, and I know that Mr. Poole works really hard on those things and tries to get them done, but he's only one person. There are many of them. Unfortunately, the California law doesn't provide an exception for we didn't assign enough people to comply. I've got Public Record Act requests outstanding for years. Nobody responds to them, and that's a violation of California law that the city really shouldn't be doing. So I think one thing for your agenda would be show us how you're complying on time and what are you going to do to make sure that you do. I started out asking in 2010, where do you report transports? That recently became where do you report transfers to best friends. I still don't get an answer to that, and I'll tell you why I'm not getting an answer to it. It's not because Mr. Poole is overworked. I think it's because of this. Adoptions in 2013 compared to the year before Brenda Barnett started are actually up by 3,175, which sounds really good. The thing is, transfers to best friends are about 5,000 a year. When animals are transferred from a Los Angeles city shelter cage to a best friends cage, they're not adopted. They don't have a home. They're still impounded animals. In fact, Best Friends doesn't even adopt out almost half of them. They transfer them to yet another shelter cage in some other city or state or country so that maybe they'll get adopted there. These are not animals that got adopted by LA Animal Services, yet Brenda reports them as public adoptions in the LA Animal Services statistics. 5,000 of them. She's basically lying, and that's the only word that can be used, lying about between 15 and 20% of public adoptions that she's reporting to you, to the public, to the mayor. This is a lie. And this is what Phyllis was saying about you have to separate what's going on at Best Friends from what's going on at LA Animal Services. They are not the same, and whatever good things Best Friends is doing, that doesn't mean that Brenda should get credit for it, because Brenda has a job. She's getting $200,000 plus a year. She should be doing something for it, not relying on Best Friends and others to do her work for her. So Brenda's job is to actually solve some problems that other people and organizations are not solving. I'm kind of curious what a Public Record Act request for whatever Brenda is doing on her instrument over there would show, because I suspect she's not taking notes. I think she's just not paying attention to what's going on, and she's not hearing what the public has to say. So I hope you are listening, because many people are very dissatisfied, and so it's kind of up to you to help us and to help the animals.
Owner surrenders, a lot of times when they come in, they are scared to death. They go from being in a nice home in a bed to being thrown into a cage. And I wonder if there's anything that we can do for the owner surrenders to, have them have like a little decompression session, or I know this is a city shelter. They can't go and have a spa or whatever, but to just have somebody there to give them some comfort rather than to just take them and just throw them in the cage. I think there should be some kind of program with volunteers or something that helps to, calm the owner surrenders. I don't know what the law is. I don't understand why we can just adopt animals out to anybody. Why there can't be any kind of, a little bit of selectivity, because there's some people that obviously, they like some people, they'll turn an old animal into the shelter, and then they'll go walking around the shelter and want to adopt a young animal. And I just think I think that when somebody turns an animal in like that, they shouldn't be allowed to turn around and adopt an animal again.
Sorry you all get dismissed by email without even a phone call. Sorry, Jim Jenswald and Lisa McCurdy. Thank you for your time. I just want to put that on the record. And shame on you for getting rid of Kathy Reardon, the brain trust. Forever shame. And by the way, Jim Jenswald was an oral surgeon, a very esteemed oral surgeon. He found out through Lisa, through email, hey, did you get sacked? Yeah, I got sacked. Classy. So I hope you last longer, but don't get too comfortable, because there's a big eject button from the mayor's office, and they're all connected. It's all politics. I am on foot patrol at the old SLA neighborhood, which is Exposition and 12th, 11th, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. You'll find me there every night. I feed the the cats that I've trapped and neutered. There are still more coming, because people still go to the old location because the banners are still up. No one's bothered to take them down, so everyone the dumbasses think that there's still a shelter there. So they tie up the dogs and they leave boxes, and I'm constantly calling SLA new location to come pick up animals.
I think it's very important that staff tries to communicate with the volunteers who are here regularly, getting to know the dogs and cats for that matter, and trusting us a little bit. I don't think any one of us is going to endanger ourselves by going into a dog that was deemed aggressive the day it was brought in. And these dogs need time to settle down, and they need to be able to trust somebody. They do not do reevaluations on the dogs that were brought in and deemed aggressive or have behaviorals. So those dogs could be here for months. They don't get fixed unless Christine is here. Generally, those dogs will not get out for walks or for any kind of playtime. The other thing that I've been asking for years is statistics on animals that are found and brought into the shelters, and the owners come in looking for them and cannot afford to get them back out because of the fees that are charged. I've paid for the redemption fee for a homeless couple whose pet was picked up by the police department while she was in a 7-Eleven getting a drink, and she could not afford to get her dog out that she had for the entire life. If it's about the pet being fixed or neutered, do it. You're going to do it anyway, eventually, if the dog gets adopted. But if these people want their dogs back, at least let them have a chance to get their dogs back. That's all their family that they know. So I'd like to know the statistics of the dogs that have to remain in here and be subjected to kennel life and possibly getting sick and whatever, when they could have possibly gone out a day or two later back to the owners, but they just couldn't afford it. We need to educate more than anything else. We need to get into the schools, and we need somebody in each of the shelters. We need an intervention program at this shelter and every other shelter like they have to greet people and let them know that there are options, that they don't have to turn in an animal, that there could be funding to help an animal with medical treatment. We need to do this for the animals.
But have not been used. We've not been used since a year and a half, 2, right? Because when the program started, we were told all of a sudden, you can't volunteer no more, right? We went to training for 6 months. We volunteered at that time. After work, we go to the mission shelter that's now owned by Best Friend. We go over there and we train on our own time. By money collected by volunteers, put together a program going. We had 12 guardians and we were told there would be a second class. The second class never happened, and the people that went to the training, people that went to the training were told you cannot volunteer anymore. We were given a lot of excuses. We were told, well, people were volunteering on city time. That is a lie. That would be illegal because our supervisors will not allow us to leave before 5. So there's no way we could do volunteer hours during city time. So if that was the reason why the program was stopped, it was a lie. A couple of days ago, we had one officer in the morning. It wasn't at night, it wasn't graveyard shift. In the morning, he had to go out in the field. I had to catch his calls. And one of the calls that I covered was somebody that was calling for the 5th time about a complaint they made in December. There hasn't been an investigation on that particular call. It's been almost 2 months. And there are people that actually want to do the job. We've been trained. I can do everything that every officer do. And just in the shelter alone, we have 4 of us that are records.
The transfer system of transferring animals from South Los Angeles, from maybe North Central, that we could use them in our shelters and West LA shelters. I think that there needs to be some sort of better system or requirement that when there are cages available, not obviously filling all the cages, we need room for cages for animals coming in, but why aren't we having more transfers? We don't have people to drive, we don't have the staff. We have volunteers that are willing to drive the trucks. There's no training program for the driving the trucks. There are a few that do the mobiles that are trained that could transfer. It doesn't need to be shelter staff. So I would just like to bring up that transferring animals from our heavier shelters that are in lesser neighborhoods, that these animals are possibly getting put down, that could have been over here, that could have been at one of our mobiles, it could be at West LA. But like LA County, I'm not sure why we can't even implement some sort of program where we can take a truckload of Baldwin Park and bring them to West LA. I know this Sunday we have a mobile at West LA, and South LA is coming, and instead of our truck leftovers going to Best Friends, they're going to West LA shelter because they simply don't have enough animals, and they have adopters. So if there's any way, like, we can work with LA County as well, who are overwhelmed situations. If you've ever been to one of their shelters, and try and do, integrate some sort of transfer program, even with volunteers, that'd be great. Mobile events don't seem to be as many as I'd like to see. There are volunteers willing to do it. I'm not sure how to implement more mobiles or within the shelters or get permits or whatever we need to do to get out a little bit more. Even one time a month really helps.